Orchids, orchids, and guess what? More orchids. It's an event orchid lovers and any flower lover is going to enjoy. We have Michael Poland with Artstone Orchids joining me this morning with a preview of this weekend's Orchid Festival. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. How you doing?
Good, good.
Beautiful day in Florida.
It is. It's going to be a beautiful weekend as well. Certainly when orchids are the star, which they are so popular. My first question was, how does Florida do when trying to raise and grow healthy orchids?
It's a great state because we're semi-tropical. 10 months out of the year, we have no problem. You get that 1 or 2 nights that you might have to bring them in, but besides that, Florida's just a great state. It's hot, it's humid. When they're comfortable, we're uncomfortable. Okay. They like the heat.
At least somebody does, right? So the festival is this Sunday. Give us an idea. It's from 10 to 4. There's classes going on, workshops. What can people expect when they go out there?
It opens up at 10. And our first lecture workshop is at 10:30. Keith Immig from Winter Haven Orchids comes in, and he talks about propagation of orchids, how to make seed on orchids, how to raise them up from seed to a blooming sized plant. He actually gives everyone in the audience a flower and shows them how to pollinate the orchid. So it's an hands-on, real fun experience. And then after that, we've got Vanda Culture. Elfie Espino from Palmer Orchids in Bradenton comes up, talks about Vanda orchids. I'll be doing a lecture on Orchids 101 and repotting orchids and mounting orchids. I can kind of show. That's usually the biggest question by people is, why doesn't it bloom for me, and how do I repot it? And then we have Louis Del Favro from Tampa here. He's an orchid grower, been here for years and years, talking about Oncidium culture, and then Paul Phelps from Tampa also talking on
Good
culture.
deal. Well, let's go back to Orchid 101 because that's your expertise. How easy are these flowers? I mean,
most orchids are killed with kindness. They thrive on neglect. An orchid is an air plant.
This sounds like my kind of flower. I like this.
I mean, this is how an orchid grows in nature. I mean, it grows on a tree limb, its roots are all exposed, and people think, well, it rains every day, I got to keep it wet. But the root, you know, it rains, and then it's 100 degrees, and it dries out. And the orchid likes to go through that roller coaster of very wet, very dry, very wet, very dry. So if you water it, let it go thoroughly dry. Before you water it again, you'll have no problems. All
right. And how many varieties of orchids are there? I mean, it's thousands? Is it hundreds?
Millions.
Millions.
There are more orchid species on the face of the earth than any other plant life. And they go back in time. They're one of the most highly evolved plants. They have an encapsulated pollen in them. They're just one of the plants that people with allergies like to do because it's not a powdery pollen. So it doesn't bother your allergies at all. But orchids occur everywhere in the world except the Arctic and Antarctic. You can go up into Canada. You can go up into the Peruvian mountains at 10,000 feet, and there's orchids that grow there. They don't do as well here in Florida because of the heat. But then again, we get to grow most of the tropical and subtropical varieties here that the people up north trouble with.
So if you're planting them outside, where do you recommend? I mean, full sun? I mean, what are the best spots?
There are varieties that do like full sun. And here we've got an epidendrum that will grow in full sun.
This white one here,
Yes, and then like the Phalaenopsis is the house orchid. That's the one that likes no direct sun. And it can be used as a windowsill type plant.
But this is all stuff you can learn on Sunday, right? You're going to get lots of questions like the ones I'm asking today.
Lots of questions. We get an hour for each of our workshops. And what we do is save the last 15 minutes for questions. And then even for the people who don't want to ask questions, they can come up afterward and ask individually. And they may have problems, individual problems.
We're going to have you come back, all right?
Oh, that sounds
We'll make sure to put the details of the Orchid Festival going on at Sunken Gardens. Again, it's going to be this Sunday. We'll make sure and it goes on our website as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us here. Come out and have a great weekend.